Recording in progress.
Good evening. Sorry for the delay in the start. Welcome to this City Council regular meeting this Monday evening, October 6th. I now call this meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Deputy City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mayor Newsom. Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Present.
Councilmember Sverka-Goditsky.
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lorraine.
Here.
Mayor Newsom.
Here. For the record, please note that Councilmember Lisa Diaz-Nash is participating remotely in tonight's meeting. We're excited to be here in person with options for those who choose not to be in person to participate virtually. There are several ways to participate. For those attending in person, please complete a yellow request to speak slip and hand it to the deputy clerk. If participating remotely, use the raise your hand feature in Zoom and you will be called on at the appropriate time. If calling in via phone, press *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for each item. The first action item or agenda item tonight is a ceremonial one, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we have a speaker, Chief Ed Barberini, and I invite him up to say some words.
Thank you, Mayor Newsom and members of the City Council for the proclamation tonight regarding breast cancer awareness and for helping to shine a light on an issue that touches so many lives. October's designation as Breast Cancer Awareness Month reminds us of the importance of early detection and ongoing research. Nearly every one of us has a family member, friend, or colleague that has been affected by breast cancer. Behind each statistic are real people, mothers, daughters, sisters, spouses, and even men whose strength and courage inspire us. At the San Mateo Police Department, we're proud to take part in the Pink Patch Project, a nationwide public safety initiative that raises awareness and supports breast cancer research. Throughout the month, our officers and professional staff wear specifically designed pink versions of the department patch on our uniforms. These patches spark conversations in the community and serve as a visible reminder that the early screening saves lives. Proceeds from the sale of our pink patches and related items go directly to organizations funding breast cancer research, treatment, and education. It's one small way we can stand with those fighting this disease, honor the survivors among us, and remember those we've lost. On behalf of the men and women of the San Mateo Police Department, I want to thank the council for recognizing this important cause and for supporting efforts that bring awareness, hope, and ultimately progress towards a cure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. And now a proclamation. Whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is an annual campaign to increase awareness of this disease. And whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month remains dedicated to increasing public knowledge about the importance of early detection of breast cancer diagnosis and treatment. And whereas the National Cancer Institute estimates in the United States more than 297,000 cases of breast cancer will be diagnosed this year and over 43,000 people will die. And whereas too many women do not utilize mammography at regular intervals, even though research indicates it's the best available method of detection to decrease death rates. And whereas increased breast cancer screening increases early detection, reduces death, increases life expectancy, decreases late-stage cancer diagnosis, and increases 5-year survival rates. And whereas the City of San Mateo supports breast cancer research and wishes to educate residents about detection, risk factors, and treatment, and encourages our city to go pink in October to raise awareness, promote early screening, and honor those affected by breast cancer. Now, therefore, I, Rob Newsom Jr., Mayor of San Mateo, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Furthermore, we recognize breast cancer survivors, those battling the disease, and their families who are a source of love and encouragement. We applaud the efforts of medical professionals and researchers working hard to fund a cure. Thank you. Yep. Okay, I see Lisa has her hand up. Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Thank you very much. Just very quickly, thank you, Chief Barberini, for those comments. And I would like to particularly call out Officer Jolivet, who has been such an incredible force in breast cancer awareness within the police department and across city staff.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, then we're going to come down and take a photo. Sorry, don't get away that easy. Our next ceremonial item is Fire Prevention Week. I invite to the podium San Mateo Consolidated Fire Chief Matt Turtorici and Fire Marshal Carissa Workman from the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. Sorry for the redundancy.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Fire Prevention Month is celebrated each year in October in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire, which began on October 8th, 1871, and caused devastating damage. Each year, there is a different campaign theme that helps educate everyone about fire safety. Slide 3. This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign is Charge into Fire Safety, Lithium-ion batteries in your home, and stresses the importance of buying, charging, and recycling safely when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. From phones to power tools, San Mateo Consolidated Fire urges residents to know the risks of lithium-ion batteries this Fire Prevention Week, October 5 through 11. Most electronics that we use in our homes every day, such as smartphones, laptops, e-cigarettes, headphones, hoverboards, e-bikes, toys, just to name a few, are all powered by lithium-ion batteries. In fact, most everything that's rechargeable uses this type of battery. They are powerful, convenient, and just about everywhere. If not used correctly or if damaged, lithium-ion batteries can overheat, start a fire, or even explode. To reduce these risks, look around your home. It's important to know which devices are powered by them. This year's Fire Prevention Week campaign helps people understand the importance of using these batteries correctly to prevent fires in the home and follow the buy, charge, and recycle safely approach. Buy only listed products. When buying a product that uses a lithium-ion battery, take time to research it. Look for a stamp from a nationally recognized testing lab on the packaging and product, which means that it meets the important safety standards. Many products sold online and in stores may not meet safety standards and could increase the risk of fire. Charge devices safely. Always use the cables that come with the product to charge it and follow manufacturer's instructions. If you need a new charger, buy one from the manufacturer or one that the manufacturer has approved. Charge your device on a hard surface. Don't charge it under a pillow, on a bed, or on a couch, as this could cause a fire. Don't overcharge your device and plug it or remove the battery when it's fully charged. Recycle batteries responsibly. Don't throw lithium-ion batteries in the trash or regular recycling bins because they could catch fire. Recycling your device or battery at a safe battery recycling location is the best way to dispose of them. Visit call2recycle.org to find a recycling spot near you. Next slide, please. In support of this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign, San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department is hosting an open house on Saturday, October 11th from 10 to 2 p.m. at Fire Station 28, located at 1040 East Hillsdale in Foster City. We hope to see you there. For more information about Fire Prevention Week and lithium-ion battery safety, visit fpw.org. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And now a proclamation. Whereas the city of San Mateo is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting San Mateo, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas most of the electronics used in home, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, power tools, e-bikes, e-scooters, and toys, are powered by lithium-ion batteries, which, if misused, damaged, or improperly charged, can overheat, start a fire, or explode. And whereas the National Fire Protection Association reports an increase in battery-related fires, underscoring the need for public education on the safe use of lithium-ion batteries, and whereas residents should follow 3 key calls to action: buy only listed products, charge batteries safely, and recycle them responsibly to prevent battery-related fires. And whereas lithium-ion batteries store a large amount of energy in a small space, and improper use, such as overcharging, using off-brand chargers without safety certification, or exposing batteries to damage, can result in fire or explosion. And whereas the proper disposal and recycling of lithium-ion batteries help prevent environmental hazards and reduce fire risks in the home and community, and whereas the 2025 Fire Prevention Week theme, Charge into Fire Safety, lithium-ion batteries in your home, serves to remind us of the importance of using, charging, and recycling lithium-ion batteries safely to reduce the risk of fires in home and communities. Now, therefore, I, Robert Newsom Jr., the mayor of San Mateo, and on behalf of the entire city council, do hereby recognize this October 5th through the 11th as Fire Prevention Week. Congratulations. You have anything to add, Chief?
I think our fire marshal did an outstanding job.
She certainly did. We're going to come down and take a picture. For sure.
Thank you through the mayor. I did just want to compliment what has been said with a note about from our friends at Rethink Waste as our council representative on Rethink Waste. If anyone wants to go to rethinkbatteries.org to the make sure that we have the local ways of recycling these batteries responsibly. That is a great resource. And as we know, maybe we know, there was a fire at our Shoreway facility that was caused by a lithium-ion battery several years ago. So they are dangerous. It's important to recycle them responsibly. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to come down and take a photo.
Thanks for indulging me. I also just thought it might be nice to ask for a small round of applause for the police department, given that we gave one for the fire department for all our ceremonial items. Just didn't want anyone to feel left out. Thank you.
Thank you for calling that out. All right. Next up, San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District. We're going to invite up our Commissioner Tolifa and Brian Weber from the San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. As the slide says, I'm Brian Weber, the District Manager of San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control. I'm going to talk about some of the critters you see here and the district services we provide. So this is our main slide here. As you can see, these are our main services that we provide. Mosquito control. We've actually been doing mosquito control in the city of San Mateo for over 100 years. That map out there in the hallway, we started doing control just shortly after that. So residents can call the district and one of our staff will come out within one business day every time. And we look to identify the water that the mosquitoes are breathing in. Mosquito fish, people love this. We actually breed our mosquito fish on site at the district. So we have some large breeding tanks and those are distributed in ornamental ponds, abandoned swimming pools, and anything where the water cannot go into a natural waterway. So residents can come and pick up fish at the district office, or our technicians can deliver them just by calling it again one business day. Then we have our insect and tick ID program. So our staff, they'll do what's called tick flagging. They'll hike a lot of the trails countywide. They'll collect ticks off of a flag and take them back and test for Lyme disease. If there's elevated risk for Lyme disease, we do outreach and post signs at parks. And then also the insect ID program is just the same. A resident can call or we can pick it up. Any insect will ID for free. And then of course, if it has to do with public health significance, we'll give them advice or even do a property visit to further advise them on that. Rodent inspections, our staff give a detailed rodent inspection. So we always recommend the homeowner being there. The staff member will walk around the property with the homeowner and give a detailed report. We're always looking for where the rodents are getting inside the structure. Instead of just setting traps, or some people will want to use bait, we'll actually look at the entry points of the problem, because that's when there's a public health issue, is when rodents are in the structure with humans. That detailed report can be given to a pest control operator or to the homeowner to do the work themselves. And then yellow jacket control, we often do over 1,000 of these a year. That's probably our most substantial calls in the summer. And so if you know where the yellow jacket nest is, or we'll even do wasps, you often see wasp nests in your eaves, we'll come out and remove the nest at no charge. Community education, I know we've seen Mayor Newsom at our open house. We do these speaking engagements, and our staff member, Rachel, she goes to over 100 schools a year. So we also do community fairs and different things like that. And then disease surveillance. So we're always trapping mosquitoes and testing for West Nile virus. We test the ticks for Lyme disease, as I mentioned, and any emerging diseases, we'll look for them as well. Next slide. So this is a snapshot of 2024. As you can see, we do a lot of work in San Mateo, just in site inspections alone. So that is anything that has historically has held standing water, whether it was removed altogether. We'll continue to check on that until it's removed or it's running. And you can see service calls alone, there's 545. That would indicate that the residents in this city are pretty well educated on our program. And I mentioned the yellow jacket. So you guys had 160 of those 1,000. So out of 21 cities, that's a significant amount of calls. Next slide. And so one thing we always ask to share with the residents of all of our cities is we can't do the job ourselves. So in San Mateo, check for water under your house, especially in the areas on the flatland. I actually live in North Shoreview, and a lot of people, because it's on Bayfill, it's close to the water table and you can get water under the house. So we have some fairly substantial problems in San Mateo that we've worked with residents to resolve. And then of course, dump any standing water, even thing that people don't think about, like plant saucers, pet bowls, bird baths, and so on. And one more thing, report biting mosquitoes. So, of course, if your residents are getting a bite or they see mosquitoes flying around, they can always give our office a call. And like I said, we'll come in one business day, and you can see the contact information there. Is that it? Okay. Is there any questions?
Sorry about that abrupt ending. Yeah. Any questions from the council, please?
I just wanted to share a story. I had a constituent, 93 years old, call me about yellow jackets this summer. And she unfortunately was stung a few times, but just really kudos to your department because you guys came out the same day and took care of it. And she actually didn't know that this was a service. So just really, really cool. You guys are amazing. So I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thanks for all you guys do. Thank you, Commissioner Faw, for your participation on a monthly basis. And it's a great tour, folks. So get to their open house once a year and encourage your schools to have them visit because kids like gross bugs and rodents. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Take care.
it. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Come back. We need to take a picture.
It didn't happen.
All right, we're now moving on to beyond the ceremonial portion of tonight's meeting. For this, which includes business items being considered before the council. For that reason, I would like to remind all in the room and online that we will be enforcing our rules of decorum. As such, we do not allow for cheering, jeering, or booing during public comment during the business portion of the meeting, as this tends to put a chill on public comment. Our goal is to ensure that all perspectives are heard. Our motto, give respect, get respect, and we appreciate your cooperation for this. Before we move on, my colleague, Councilmember Swerko Kadiki, will provide a short statement.
Thank you. I will be recusing myself from item 13 because a portion of 19th Avenue, Fashion Island Boulevard, the project is less than 500 feet from the location of a company that was a source of income for me over the last 12 months. I will vote on the consent calendar, but please record me as abstaining from item 13.
Very well. Let the record show that Councilmember Swerko Kadiki will be recorded as abstaining on item 13. We can still hold one vote with the entire consent calendar. However, she will be abstaining on that matter. Deputy City Clerk, could you please read tonight's consent calendar?
Certainly, Mayor Newsom. Item number 4, City Council meeting minutes, approval. Item number 5, City Council 2026 regular meeting calendar, adoption. Item number 6, participation in National Opioid Settlement Agreement, approval. Item number 7, Sycamore tree pruning agreement. Item number 8, Public Works Facilities Program Manager Professional Services Agreement. Item number 9, Wastewater Treatment Plant Upgrade and Expansion Project approval. Item number 10, Application for Rubberized Pavement Grant Program approval. Item number 11, Peninsula Corridor Multimodal Complete Streets Project Grant Application. Item number 12, Peninsula Avenue and North Delaware Street Intersection Modification Project Agreement. Item number 13, 19th Avenue Fashion Island Boulevard Multimodal Improvement Project Grant Application. Item number 14, Wastewater Treatment Plan, Immediate Action Projects, Package 2, Appropriation. And finally, item number 15, Fourth and Railroad Parking Lot, Bespoke Development Amendment.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. Is there any member of the City Council who would like to pull any item of the consent calendar for any reason? Seeing none, we will now open it up to members of the public who wish to comment on any consent calendar items. Now would be the time to make your comment. This is for consent calendar items only. Ms. Clerk, is there anyone who wishes to speak on consent calendar items?
I have one hand raised by Councilmember Lisa Diaz-Nash. No comment? Okay. So right now, I do not have any hands to speak, any requests to speak on this, on the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, you are muted. Did you have something you wanted to say?
After the vote.
Thank you. Okay, then is there a motion to
I motion.
Deputy City Clerk, please call the roll?
Councilmember Svirka-Goditsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lorraine,
Yes.
Mayor Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries
passes.
5-0.
Thank you. And Councilmember Diaz-Nash, now is the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. I would just like to commend city staff and point out to the public that in this lengthy consent calendar, we have several opportunities where staff is proactively going out and seeking substantial revenue for the city so we can fulfill our functions. There's a settlement agreement in number 6, and there are 3 grant applications in number 10, number 11, and number 13. And this is something that we have all encouraged city staff to do, to find new opportunities for revenue for the city. And I applaud them for taking this responsibility very seriously.
Thank you. We will now move on to our next item of business. This is item number 16. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm off a little tonight. Before we do that, next on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the city council at this time. State law prevents council from taking action on any matter not on the agenda. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. This public comment section is generally limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, that is subject to council discretion and can be extended if council wishes to do so. If needed, an opportunity for additional public comment may also be provided later in the agenda. Deputy Clerk, please tally the total number of requests to speak on general public comment.
If you wish to speak on this on public comment and you are participating in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. If you are in person, please provide me with the request to speak slip. We will be closing the request. This is for general public comment. Alrighty, we have one request to speak in the in-person environment and one request in the virtual environment. We will start with in-person in chambers. That is a total of 2 speakers, so that is 3 minutes per speaker. And our first speaker is Carlos.
Yeah, my name is Carlos Cruz. I live in 17 Tilton Avenue in San Mateo, and I need the request for the blue parking in my house. No, I don't have a parking, everybody no parking in front of my house, no. I know what good, no. And I need parking for anywhere, no. This is my problem.
Thank you.
So,
If you'd like to submit a request to speak, we could just take you as the next speaker. That would be the most diplomatic way to do it.
Chantal, could you potentially just let him know
I
in
can help
Spanish that he
interpret.
could reach out to Public Works?
Yeah, I can help with interpretation.
So we'll get his contact information and we can go ahead and help him out with the handicap parking in front of his home.
Yes.
Be
thank
great.
you.
I will let
follow
him
up.
know.
So yeah, can you?
I will let him know. Mhm.
We're getting it.
So this is my neighbor, and he does have a handicap plaque on his car. He's been denied the blue parking. And so lately, the last few weeks, month, he has not had a place to park. When they denied him, I think they're looking at where he lives. And it's two places. They've converted their place to two places, the owner, not him. So it looks like he has a long driveway there, but that belongs to the people upstairs. So I would like them to look at where he lives, because lately he has not, I've watched him. And so the other day I told him, you got to come there and you got to say something, because I can only help you so much. But he really needs that blue handicap and he's been denied. But I really wish people would consider looking at it again for him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Chantal, did you get the contact information? Okay,
I'll get
we
that.
got it.
Alrighty, our next speaker is in the virtual environment. That's Mike Swire.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Mayor Newsom, and thanks to the council and staff and everybody for the hard work for the city. I'm going to send an email, but I wanted to encourage you to take a look at an article and some TV segments that recently appeared in the Daily Journal and news segments about the city of San Bruno, which has parking challenges. And one of the ways in which they are combating that is cracking down on residents putting cones and other structures in the street to reserve spots. This is of course illegal, and it prevents residents from having access to spots. They basically sit idle for day, night, however long. So the city staff is now warning residents, and they're going to be increasing enforcement against those that are reserving spots on the public right of way. I'd urge the city of San Mateo to do the same in response to the many residents that are asking for similar things on next door and elsewhere. It seems like it's also a common problem, and it seems like an easy fix to enforce existing laws if we're truly concerned about increasing parking supply, or at least using parking supply more efficiently. Seems like a better idea than spending up to $3 million of money that we don't have while removing bike lanes on the most dangerous street next to several schools in the city. I'd also encourage the city to look at a residential parking program that reduces parking abuse in the area, as well as contracting with other lots, public and private, that are open in the area overnight. Thanks so much.
Thank you. For the mayor, that concludes general public comment.
Thank you. We will now close public comment and move on to item. Now I'm off place again. Item 16, Animal Control Amendments Ordinance Introduction. We'll have a presentation from Chief Barberini and Lieutenant Glenn Tixeri.
Good evening, Mayor Newsom, council members. My name is Glenn Tixera. I'm a Lieutenant with your police department. Tonight, I'll be going over introduction over animal control amendments. First, a little background. Animal control is a long-running shared service in San Mateo County. Our county currently contracts with the Peninsula Humane Society, and in turn, all 20 cities contract with San Mateo County. One of the provisions of that contract is that each city must adopt and maintain an animal control ordinance that is consistent with the county ordinance. In San Mateo, animal control is regulated by Municipal Code Section 8.02. If you remember, I was in here in 2024, and there were significant updates that were made to the county code. In turn, the city subsequently made updates to ensure conformity to the county ordinance. There were sections of our chapter 8.02 that were inadvertently repealed and left out in 2024 during that process. What we didn't know at the time is that those repealed sections are actually maintained in a different section within the county code. What we are looking to do tonight is to have those sections added back into the San Mateo Municipal Code to maintain uniformity with the county. These key code provisions that we are looking to reinstate and add have to do with spaying and neutering, breeding permits, keeping of dogs and cats, the sale or adoption of dogs and cats, revocation of permits, and miscellaneous fee provisions, penalties, and responsibility for enforcement. And this is in order to enforce regulations regarding specifically spay and neutering laws, the number of animals that may be kept in a home, the breeding of animals with permits, and we are recommending that these sections be added back into the municipal code. Additionally, we're also seeking to add section 8.34, animal fanciers permit. This would be a new chapter that is added, allowing up to 10 cats or dogs per premise with the appropriate permits. It sets forth those permit conditions regarding sanitation, proper housing, cages, any restrictions with that, inspections, and permit denial and revocation if complaints or any non-compliance exists. This would all be consistent with the current county code and something that we would be looking to add. Our recommendation is that we introduce the ordinance to amend our current San Mateo Municipal Code Section 8.02 under animal control and add Section 8.34 to maintain consistency with the county. The adoption will be scheduled for October 20th to take effect November 20th.
Thank you for your presentation. We will now open this item up for public comment.
If you wish to speak on this item and you're participating in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. If you are in person, please provide me with a request to speak. We will be closing the request to speak now. And I received one request to speak on this item. Per our rules and procedures, that is 3 minutes per speaker.
Thank you.
And our speaker is Seema Patel.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Seema. I currently serve on the Planning Commission, but I'm speaking tonight on my own behalf. Back in May, there was a resident of Bay Meadows who posted on social media about observing a woman with a falcon hunting baby ducklings in the Park Place pond at Bay Meadows. And she was there with her kids to go see the baby ducklings. And apparently it was very traumatic to watch the falcon hunt and kill the baby ducklings. It was a gory sight. And so she posted on social media asking if anybody knew about this and knew if it was allowed. A few people responded, and I do not know how true this is, that the falconer was hired by the HOA to control the duck population. And that spurred a conversation on social media about whether or not hunting wildlife is allowed in the city of San Mateo. So seeing that this ordinance was up for adoption, I checked our municipal code and I couldn't find anything about whether or not hunting wildlife is allowed. If it is allowed, what the process is to get a permit or permission to do it. I don't know if that is governed at the county level or with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. But if it's not, I think it would be great if we could address that in this ordinance and establish some rules and procedures around hunting of wildlife in San Mateo. Thank you.
Thank you. For the mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. We will close public comment and open it up to questions, comments, and then a motion from the council. Does anyone want to go first? Councilwoman Swarko-Kadiki.
Through the question that just came up, is that not Fish and Wildlife?
So typically hunting license, and I would assume falconry comes through the state, but I'll ask our chief if you have any feedback on that.
Yeah, all hunting requirements are established by Fish and Wildlife. There are, to my knowledge, no areas within the city limits of San Mateo that are zoned for hunting, meaning you wouldn't be able to get a license to hunt within that area, but those are all governed by Fish and Wildlife.
Great. Okay. I believe my understanding of this request is to make sure we're in compliance with county policy when it comes to owning or having some kind of dog business, correct? Okay. And we're just updating the existing ordinance to be in compliance with the existing county policy.
Yes.
Okay, great. So hunting would not fall under that?
No.
Or under this, correct? Okay, great. I have no other questions.
Okay, I have two questions. I was just curious. I know some people do home boarding of pets and animals. Are you required to have an animal fancier permit to be boarding dogs? And is that limit of 10 also in place for people boarding dogs?
My understanding is the fancier permit applies to people with competition animals, whether they're show animals, cats or dogs, and the provision would allow up to 10 for those people who are competing in those activities or sport. Our normal regulation would be 5. So this would allow those people to have more animals as long as they obtain that permit.
Okay, so if you're boarding at your home, 5 is the number.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? As far as someone who has a falcon, is there a requirement to have a bird of prey registered in the county of San Mateo?
Again, that would be a statewide regulation, and it would be like any other hunting implement, whether it's a firearm or bow or falcon. So that would all be regulated at the state level.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a difference, obviously, between someone who has a pet bird of prey versus someone who's going out with a gun and shooting or trapping an animal. Or is that not right?
They're both hunting.
Yeah,
so
okay.
they're both used for the same purpose. So I'm not familiar with the call that was described. If we had received that call, we would have went out and talked to that person and probably requested that Fish and Wildlife respond to deal with any potential violations.
Okay, for sure. And to the best of our knowledge, we haven't used anyone with a falconer to do pest control in the city, correct?
To my knowledge, I have not heard of that.
Okay, I know that the city of Foster City uses someone to cull geese, but they're using humans to do that as opposed to, and they're culling geese by basically destroying eggs and also putting out things to basically defertilize the birds. I'm using the wrong term, but okay, thank you. That's all I had. Any other? Yeah, one more question down on the end.
Just
Councilman.
sorry, because this has come up a few times about dogs being off leash. Is there anything in this ordinance about our policy on that?
Not in this particular code. We do have a dog off leash policy, but that's not the intent of, that would be enforced by the city and not the Humane Society.
Right.
Yeah, this allows us to report specific violations to the county so they can enforce. The dog off leash ordinances are specific to the individual cities.
Great, I'll follow up with you offline. If there's no other comments, I motion to approve.
Thank you. And we have a second. Can you please call the roll?
Certainly, Mayor. Councilmember Sverka-Goditsky,
Yes.
Councilmember Fernandez,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lorraine,
Yes.
Mayor Newsom,
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz-Nash.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay. Our final item before reports and announcements for the night, our old business, is item 17, glass leaf blower prohibition update. We'll have a presentation from Andrea Chow, our sustainability analyst. Welcome, Andrea.
All right, good evening. Hello, Mayor Newsom, City Council members, and members of the public. My presentation tonight will review leaf blower regulations. And my name is Andrea Chow. I'm the Sustainability Analyst with the City of San Mateo. I will be asking the City Council to provide direction on how to update the city's leaf blower ordinance to prohibit the use of gas leaf blowers. I'll start by providing some background on the topic before getting into the specific policy areas that require council direction. Gas leaf blower regulations can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and address air quality impacts. Many cities in the Bay Area have adopted gas leaf blower bans, including Burlingame, Hillsborough, Menlo Park, and the City of Palo Alto. At the April 3rd, 2023 City Council meeting, Council decided not to pursue leaf blower regulations at that time and instead directed staff to develop a more robust rebate program, enhance community engagement, and lead by transitioning with our city operations. That was the most recent direction from City Council to staff until the February 2025 City Council Blue Sky meeting, when staff was directed to develop and implement an ordinance to prohibit the use of gas leaf blowers. As of 2024, state regulations require that new model years of 2024 or later leaf blower equipment be electric. So those state regulations don't impact existing gas equipment, but this is a statewide regulation. The city's current regulations, which are also attached to the staff report, limits the use of leaf blowers to 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. The hours of operation apply to residential zoning districts and in areas bordering residential zoning neighborhoods. The city provides up to 75% of the purchase price, up to a maximum of $500 to landscaping businesses, and up to 50% of the purchase price and maximum of $100 for residents for our electric leaf blower program. On average, the city issues 19 residential rebates with an average rebate amount of $79 and 4 business rebates with an average rebate amount of $400. And these averages are on an annual basis. The total average rebates distributed per year is around $3,200. Per City Council's direction to staff, staff did evaluate the city's rebate program but did not increase the rebate amount for a few reasons. One being that the state requirements had started to already require the sale of new electric equipment. And also in 2023, landscaping businesses did not identify costs as the only barrier to this transition. It's worth noting that not all businesses utilize that maximum rebate amount. And I want to point out that businesses could potentially leverage multiple local rebates because there are multiple cities in our region that offer electric leaf blower rebate programs, including the cities of Burlingame, Menlo Park, Atherton, Redwood City, and San Carlos is also considering one. Staff has focused on enhanced engagement and marketing, which has increased the rebate uptake. The rebate program participation was a record high in 2024, with 46 rebates issued compared to the average 23 rebates per year. Continued outreach will be essential and key to the transition after an ordinance prohibiting gas leaf blower use is in place. For city operations, the city used funding from Peninsula Clean Energy's member agency grant to transition all of our gas leaf blower equipment, and staff have now fully transitioned just as of last week in September and are using our electric equipment citywide. Currently, the city's leaf blower hours of operation only apply to residential zoning districts and in areas bordering residentially zoned neighborhoods. There are residents in transit-oriented development zones and in downtown where these hours of operations do not apply. The city could consider applying leaf blower hours of operation citywide. If the city were to expand regulations citywide, this likely would have an impact on commercial businesses and also on the city's own operations. For example, leaf blowers are used in downtown garages and also at our golf course parking lot, typically before 7 a.m. This is an optimal time to avoid conflict with cars. And the same is true of existing commercial and office properties, some of which are near locations which may be suitable for housing now, or if in the future, even if they are not currently developed with housing. I'm going to talk about enforcement phasing, but also wanted to talk about enforcement more generally. Staff reached out to cities with gas leaf blower bans and received feedback that the enforcement of the ordinance is a primary challenge when you're starting to prohibit gas leaf blower use. Unlike other code violations, leaf blowers are fleeting in nature and that they're only used for a short period of time. Furthermore, the code enforcement officer must personally witness the municipal code violation in order to cite it. So this would mean if staff is unable to witness the code violation, staff would have to use that opportunity to provide a courtesy letter with information about the new regulation. I bring this up to note that this ordinance will take a transition time. It is also a best practice for local jurisdictions to adopt an ordinance and then delay the ordinance enforcement date to allow community members and landscaping businesses to transition to compliant electric leaf blower equipment. The city of Burlingame began enforcement 9 months after ordinance adoption, and the city of Menlo Park began 12 months after ordinance adoption. Staff recommends a minimum of 9 months after the ordinance date to allow for sufficient time. And during this transition time, staff would conduct broad community-wide outreach about the new gas leaf blower prohibition. San Mateo Municipal Code Chapter 1.10, Administrative Citations, describes the procedures that the city may pursue to address code violations through the issuance of administrative citations. The typical process includes the issuance of a warning prior to a citation. Citations begin at $100 and escalate to $200 and $500 per occurrence if not evaded. And looking at other cities' leaf blower ordinances, they also rely on their administrative citation process. Other cities with gas leaf blower prohibitions also include the option to enforce penalties against the owners of the property owner or any other responsible party who uses a gas-powered leaf blower. This way, the staff has the option to enforce penalties against other responsible parties beyond just the leaf blower operators themselves. So tonight, staff is asking City Council to provide a recommendation on how to update the leaf blower ordinance and in the following 3 areas. I also wanted to share the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission's recommendation. Staff presented at the September 10th SIC meeting and presented a similar report and asked the Commission to make a recommendation on these policy areas. The Commission recommended that the hours of operation apply to residential zoned areas and areas adjacent to residential zones. Commissioners noted that leaf blower activity in commercial areas outside of typical business hours is important because it is a safety issue and helps keep landscapers safe by reducing that risk and conflict with cars. And they also pointed out that the trade-offs of living in a vibrant and active downtown or mixed-use area is embracing a higher level of noise. The Commission recommended enforcement 9 months after the ordinance adoption and emphasized the need for strong messaging and education prior to the enforcement date. And then finally, the Commission also recommended penalties should be assigned to the homeowner or property owner with the option to also enforce against the leaf blower operator. And that concludes my presentation. Staff is asking for City Council to provide direction on these areas and also welcomes other recommendations for the ordinance in prohibiting gas leaf blower use.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. I will now open it up for public comment. Is there any request for public comment?
We do. If you wish to speak on this item and you're participating in our virtual environment, please raise your hand now. If you are in person, please provide me with the request to speak. All right, we will be closing the request to speak period now, and we'll be announcing the names of our speakers. Currently, I have received 4 requests to speak per rules and procedure. That is 3 minutes per speaker. We have 3 speakers in chambers and 1 in our virtual environment. Our first speaker is Carol Wilhelmy.
Hi, I'm Carol Wilhelmy. My cohorts and I at Quiet Clean San Mateo view this healing initiative, the banning of the use of polluting gas-powered landscape equipment, as a cooperative community effort involving everyone, residents, property owners, businesses, and workers. We ask that everyone participate and offer help. Many have been complaining about the pollution for years. Every resident now gets the chance to step up to the plate and take positive action to make our city a healthier place to live and work. Talk with your neighbors. The goal is to minimize any friction there may be with this change. Neighbors talking to each other is one of the best ways to do that. Talk with your landscape maintenance professionals. Humans often don't like change of any kind, so ask them how you can help ease their transition. Some small businesses may be unsure how to make this change, or they may be stuck in the old way of doing business where they blow everything in sight by default. We understand that no one is perfect, but let's not allow any initial pushback to slow us down. Let's help those businesses make the transition. We can start right now in October 2025, even before the ordinance is enacted. If we do that, think about how easy code enforcement's job will be when the time comes. Anybody who is seeking ideas for how to help is welcome to contact quietcleansanmateo.org for ideas. Thank you once again, City Council members and staff, for moving forward on this healing initiative, which was sponsored by Lisa Diaz-Nash.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peter Stiles, followed by Seema Patel, and our last speaker in our virtual environment will be Mike Swire.
I hope you will ban gas blowers from all places at all times, effective immediately. This is not a new topic to anyone. In decades, I don't see the need for giving people another year or so. It just doesn't figure. Property owners are just as responsible as the operators, because otherwise the operator is going to blame the property owner and the property owner is going to blame the operator, and I'm not going to get anywhere. So I need to be able to go either the property owner or the person who's using the machine. So there's the air pollution, and then the noise nuisance, which in my case is daily, one neighbor or another, 5-7 days a week. Okay, and then the distant problems, I guess we all know these too. The carbon, which I was amazed when I read how much carbon those little things emit. It's way more than a motor vehicle. Way, way more. That little machine. So that leads to the global warming, which leads to the climate change, which seems like a big thing, but if everybody does a little, that's a lot. So the little thing I'm asking is for people who use gas blowers to stop using them. It seems like a little thing. There are other alternatives. In my case, I use a broom and a rake, sometimes a whisk broom, dustpan. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Seema Patel, followed by Mike Swire.
Hello again. Once again, I serve on the Planning Commission, but I'm speaking on my own behalf tonight. I wanted to say that I'm in favor of banning gas leaf blowers for all of the health and environmental reasons that have been discussed extensively to this point. 2 additional comments I wanted to add. I'm a little bit torn on who the penalty should be directed to. I struggle to think of an analogous situation where a homeowner is held liable for the tools that a contractor uses. If I hired a plumber to fix a leak in a pipe and they use an illegal butane torch, I don't think we would penalize the homeowner. I think the plumber would be the person who would have to answer for that. And I think it can put homeowners in the position of having to police their contractors. And sometimes this work is happening when homeowners aren't home. And I think that becomes complicated. At the same time, I understand why it might be easier to notify the homeowner because as noted in the staff presentation, this is a really fleeting activity. So in my neighborhood, I see gas leaf blowers being used on Sundays, which is currently against our ordinance. But they're in and out in 20 minutes. And even if I looked up who am I supposed to call to deal with this, they're probably going to be gone by the time the code enforcement arrives. So it is easier to just issue that notice to the homeowner, but I'm torn. And then I think the last thing I wanted to say is the enforcement piece is going to be really important because rules without enforcement, I think, just lead to frustration. And it's not clear to me who would be enforcing this and how that would happen, particularly if we're seeing landscapers use leaf blowers, any kind of leaf blower outside the regulated hours. Is code enforcement 24 hours a day? How do people know who to call? What happens when those folks show up and the landscapers are already gone? And so I think there needs to be some really clear rules and a path for addressing enforcement quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next and last speaker, Mike Swire.
I can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. I didn't get the pop-up. Yeah, thanks so much for considering this, Councilmember Nash and everybody else that put this forward. I think I've talked to council 2 or 3 times over the year over this, as city after city on the peninsula have done this, and San Mateo had been laggarding, but it seems like we're on the cusp of doing something great. So I hope that is indeed the case. These things are just evil machines. They're amongst the most inefficient and polluting engines in existence. It is a huge equity issue for those poor guys that wear 6 masks while operating these things. And maybe they're not in a position to object to their employers for a variety of reasons. In addition to the noise and all the other things that we've been talking about, and obviously the greenhouse gas thing. Other cities have been doing this for a while, so I agree with the gentleman who spoke earlier. Let's do this as soon as possible. There really is not a need for companies that have already adjusted to this elsewhere to have a long period of adjustment in San Mateo. The one thing I'm really troubled by is the not enforcing our restrictions, if I'm not sure if I have that right, in all areas of San Mateo, including transit-oriented development. So I live in Bay Meadows, which I think is a transit-oriented development. And I would hate to have these things going off at midnight at 6 a.m. on Sunday. I'm not sure if I caught the exact rule, but I don't see why, if we're encouraging people to live closer and closer to transit, closer and closer to downtown, we should expect those people to deal with more inconvenience on their sleep than elsewhere. The fact that we're citing cars as a reason that we should not have a good night's sleep is quite ironic. Again, let's make the streets safe so that we can afford to have somebody maybe stepping out into the street every once in a while to do this work instead of making people be inconvenienced. And one other thing on enforcement, why don't we allow video enforcement? I mean, why does a code enforcement have to come out? If somebody can take a picture of somebody operating a gas blower, then why isn't that sufficient? Seems like that would be okay. I think we use that for other enforcement. And then finally, I would enforce the rule against the company, not the homeowner. As has been said, I just can't imagine how that would happen. And the companies are the ones making the decision on the technology to be used. So that's all I had. Thanks so much, and I hope we can make this happen.
Thank you. Through the mayor, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. We will now close public comment and open this up for questions, comments, and direction from council. And I know from the great state of Hawaii, Council Member Lisa Diaz-Nash would like to kick this off. So I invite her to speak first.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you very much, Mayor.
We hear you. Uh-oh, you dropped out.
Okay, let's try again. Hello, hello, aloha. But thank you to staff. Thank you to all of our community members over the years who've been involved in this issue. People like Dave Clark, Carol Willamy, who just spoke, the Climate Action Team, the Citizens Climate Lobby. And neighbors around. This has been an issue that was actually one of the reasons why I was motivated to run for council several years back, as a way of really trying to show neighbors that city government can be a force of good in their daily lives. So this is a long time coming. I'm very excited about it. As we mentioned, this started in this year as one of my initiatives in the 2025 Blue Sky Initiative. I thank my fellow council members for supporting me in this. And for all the reasons we've talked about, it is just so important to health, to the environment, and so much else. Couple questions, Andrea, that I have that I would appreciate your answers to help the public understand. Which groups and individuals, in addition to other cities, have you been speaking to as you've been looking at the development of an ordinance? And specifically, have you spoken to any landscape gardeners, any small businesses, any homeowners? Could you share that with us?
In the development of this staff report and this presentation, I focused my research on the details that would shape the ordinance. A lot of the engagement work, I relied on what was done in 2023 and engaging our landscaping businesses through that effort. In addition, I will note there was a mailer that was sent to landscaping businesses that have an active city business license so that they would be required to meet these future regulations. So a notice was sent to them, both about this meeting, the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission meeting, and these potential regulations.
Great. Thank you very much. And I would just recommend in the outreach going forward that we think about the different needs of each one of these groups and how we try and get to them, because that's going to be the success of this. Number two, addressing the issue of not enforcing it in, as I understand it, we don't enforce it in commercial zones right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll clarify. So the prohibition on gas leaf blowers would be citywide. The discussion or direction that's needed is the specific language around hours of operation that currently apply to residential zoned and areas adjacent to residential zoned areas, which is a large amount of our city, but would exclude an area such as downtown.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well then, given that, a couple of other comments that I have, just for the record, I was part of the 2023 council that said, let's not go forward with this full ban yet. But it really was so that we could start with education of the landscape gardeners, of homeowners, and as well so that the city could really model behavior first, which is very important. So I wanted to take this time to really congratulate the city on just achieving being 100% electric. That is a really important thing. And as Mr. Stiles just said, if everyone does a little, it becomes a lot. So I really thank the staff for doing that. And I really also think that this incentive program has given us a lot of learning so we can better focus our outreach in the transition period. But as you can imagine, I am 1,000% in favor of introducing this ordinance. I think it's so important for all the reasons that the community as well as staff has underlined, particularly from a health perspective, environmental, noise, and quality of life perspective. And then in regard to the specific council direction that staff is looking for, I think that we really should focus right now on residential zones and areas adjacent to residential zones in the initial transition, specifically for the safety issues that were raised by the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission. But I would like to see this question be brought back up to the council in 2 years, because as others have mentioned, we are going to be transitioning a lot of areas. And in 2 years, we may have different residential areas that need to be looked at differently in terms of the hours of operation. So I would recommend we keep it as it is right now, but revisit it again in 2 years. In terms of when enforcement should begin, I believe that we should go with 9 months, which is what staff, I believe, thinks it will take a minimum, but also is as fast as we can go because it is something our entire community is looking for. Number 3, I would support giving staff, as staff has requested, the option of either using enforcement against the homeowners or against the companies. And those companies, I would recommend only be the larger companies, that when you have smaller companies, that it's very difficult and not necessarily what we want to be doing. And when it comes to enforcement, I understand what you mentioned, that it's very difficult because it is a fleeting action, but that's where issuing a letter of warning, I think, would come in. I would ask, as Mr. Swire did, is there a possibility to use video as a way of giving the city grounds for issuing a letter of warning? Also, I would not underestimate the power of neighbors and neighborhood pressure if there is sufficient education and outreach so neighborhoods all over the city are aware that this is now a change in enforcement and a change in the ordinance. My guess is that neighbors will take care of letting other neighbors know and talking to businesses, just as Ms. Willoughby said. So I would really focus on using outreach as the way to address what is obviously a very difficult enforcement issue if we leave it just up to code enforcement. And I don't think we want code enforcement on the job 7 days a week doing this when we have other issues that are equally important. I think we really count on our neighbors to do that. And then in terms of other recommendations for the ordinance, I would encourage us to be as creative as possible as to where do we come into contact with homeowners, with people, renters, anyone who could be impacted. I would think anyone coming to the city to get a permit for something, there could just be an over-the-counter or a flyer that's given out saying, guess what, the ordinance is changing and here's what you can do. Because whether you're a homeowner or a renter, I have heard from everyone and small businesses that this is a concern. Definitely talking with businesses, working with the chamber, working with the Downtown San Mateo Association, great opportunities to get the word out. Any other innovative or effective practices that other cities have used, let's continue to talk to other cities and see what they have done or what they are doing. I would also really, in talking to homeowners or renters, really encouraging them up until the the ordinance goes into effect after 9 months, encouraging them to either purchase the electric leaf blowers or allowing the landscape gardeners to plug into their outlets while they are at the home. I have heard from so many landscape gardeners that they want to do this, but they don't have enough time to charge their equipment. So if they could charge up a little bit at house number 1 and a little bit at house number 2, it might actually go a long way. As I said, really talking to neighbors and putting that power of the community into effect. I think that will have a greater impact than we know. So I want to thank the people who've been involved in this for a long time, thank my fellow council members, thank staff, and let's get this going.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Councilmember Swerko Kadiki.
Thank you. Great presentation. Just a point of clarification. So at the state level, they already require electric leaf blowers.
The sale of model year 2024 and newer must be electric. Yes. for
Okay,
leaf blowers.
so typically if someone went to a hardware store today, they would only be able to find electric.
Yeah, unless for some reason someone had old stock of older years, I think that's how you'd be able to get gas equipment.
Okay, great. And then I know this has come up twice, just the issue of recording. So just so I'm clear, if somebody records somebody, is that not, don't they need consent?
Well, I mean, you're talking about a different issue there, just to be the ability for somebody in a public place, generally requires, or recording at all, just requires the consent of the other individual to be recorded. But the question about recording, I think, is around enforcement.
Correct.
So enforcement really has to occur, has to be witnessed by the code enforcement officer, as opposed to somebody taking a video and then sending that to city staff member, that's not really a basis for a citation. I mean, that can result in perhaps some education, some outreach, but the code enforcement officer has to actually witness the.
And witness in person. Okay, thank you. So I guess seeing as that, at the state level, a lot of these businesses should already be purchasing or have gas leaf blowers, electric leaf blowers. I'm in favor of a citywide proposal. I think 9 months is fair. Just to kind of piggyback off Lisa's comments, if we were to come back in 2 years, it would actually be almost 3 years because of this 9-month adoption. So I think we should just get going. And then in terms of enforcement and penalties, accountability goes both ways. And I think that there's been actually significant public interest in this particular ordinance. So I think it should be on the homeowner and actually the business to hold each other accountable and let's do this right in San Mateo. And I really don't have any other comments on this topic. So thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Just had one question. Why are there not operation hours for Sundays?
When I looked at hours of operation in other cities, it varied, but it was most common that some cities would have a day in which leaf blowers were not operated. I think just to get a relief from noise.
Okay. I would encourage us to set Sunday hours. It feels like that would be I think that would be useful for just the purpose of trying to. We shouldn't just have a free day, in my opinion, especially on a weekend day. Where I am is I am here for the all over the citywide. I would encourage us to do Sunday as well. I would believe that we should start enforcement at 9 months. I'm with Councilmember Svirka-Gaditsky in the fact that we should be integrating both penalizing the business and the property owner. And the only other recommendation is the Sunday hours. That's it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you through the mayor. Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. Thank you to those who gave public comment. Andrea, you talked about enforcement challenges. Councilmember Svirka-Gaditsky asked about the issues with recording. Could you just talk me through what staff sees as an example of how enforcement feasibly interacts with residences, and can you maybe walk us through the process that someone who I understand it would be complaint driven, and how someone would submit a complaint, and what we should expect in instances in which someone complains, what the next steps are, and just maybe walk through it.
Sure, I'll talk through an example that perhaps is occurring during typical City Hall business hours, but currently the city accepts complaints. We have an online form. We're also under development on a CRM system that'll allow for hopefully more efficient complaint management. But you could either call in or use the online form to submit a complaint about a code violation. The intake form asks for some basic information about the code violation, the location, the time, what it is. And then a code enforcement officer would receive that intake form, and resources to deploy staff would be dependent on whether or not that complaint is a life safety issue, right? So I guess I won't go too into depth, and maybe also lean on Christina to jump in and talk about how they are processed. But typically, if integrated into our code enforcement processes, then that's how we receive complaints. And then I think maybe I will turn it to Christina to talk about how they're prioritized in terms of their response.
Thanks, Andrea. So I think that was a great start. I think that is true. So code enforcement does prioritize based on life safety, taking the ones that are more imminent threat first and then working backwards from there. But when something that is time sensitive, that needs to be evaluated in real time, that does get a little bit of a different kind of priority when resources are available. So if there's staff in the office and they're not working on something that is life safety based, then they would be deployed out into the field. If a complaint came in that was something that needed to be evaluated in real time, or similarly, if there was staff that was already out in the field, then they might be contacted. And sometimes we rely also on our building inspection team for situations like that. So if there's code enforcement that's already out or a building inspector that's out and they happen to be in the area where we get a report, then we would contact them and ask them to go by to see if they can see whatever the report is that's taking place in real time. And that's a way to get our team to the location faster. That sometimes is possible. It sometimes is not possible. It depends what else they're working on. If there's nobody in the area, if they're all doing stuff that they're already involved in, or if there's no one that is able to be deployed that's in the department at the time because they're all out working on other things and we might not be able to get out there. And then as Andrea reported, these are sometimes of short duration, or they stop, start. We've all heard gas, well, any kind of leaf blower in our own home. They stop, start. And so sometimes you go out there and it's in a stop period and you can't verify it. And so we can't keep sending them out over and over and over again. So that's one of the challenges. But if we have the resources, we will deploy them.
And did I understand that perhaps in any case, including those in which we may not have the code enforcement resources to deploy immediately during the time period we would assume is related to such activity, there's would there be a sending of information related to the current ordinance to a residence if that information is provided in the call?
Do you mean like, would we do a courtesy notice or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that. And we do that. So this is sort of akin to like our smoking ordinance. That's what I would liken it to. So you can't always catch them in the act, but we still get reports. And even if we can't verify it, especially if we get more than one report, or even if we're just getting a report and we haven't been able to verify it, especially when it's new, we can still develop like a courtesy notice and make that be a part of our practice. We got a report. We didn't verify it, but we want to let you know you can't do this. And this is what you can do. And it might not be you, but it might be someone that you hire. You know, some people do it themselves. Some people hire folks. Sometimes it's a commercial property. Maybe they don't know the rules. And so we would give them the resources and access to resources.
Thank you. Can I just confirm related to the direction request on assignment of penalties, if staff is actually, is staff okay with leaving it open to optionality between the property owners okay.
Yes, confirmed.
Very good. And could I maybe ask my colleagues who have already weighed in and mentioned interest in a citywide approach to number one, if they were referring to applying the hours of operation of leaf blowers citywide, or if we were talking about enforcement or both?
Yeah, apologies for not being clear. Hours of operation citywide. Same.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think I will give my thoughts on these 4 bullets now and say that I would prefer that we keep the current hours of operation in residential zoned and adjacent. Oh, actually, I did want to ask about this though, Andrea, because we heard some public comment, sort of, I think, kind of question what is within the current zone. You mentioned that downtown would, some parts of downtown would not be within the zone. But would Bay Meadows be within residential zoning that would have this operation?
Apologies, I do not know off the top of my head. I'd have to refer to a zoning map.
We'd have to look at the map. I think probably there would be parts that would and parts that wouldn't. I'm thinking of like Franklin Templeton, and the office buildings would be a no. But then I think about the strictly residential parts, and it clearly would apply there. But I don't know what the property lines are like.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I am still comfortable with keeping what we have at this time. I suppose that I'm more interested in echoing Councilmember Diaz-Nash's request for revisiting this in a couple years' time. So I will do that. And then with regard to enforcement phasing, I would be in favor of the 9 months so that we keep moving on this, but give staff the opportunity to properly share it with others and make sure that we're all sort of on the same page as we get to that. I also got the sense from your presentation to Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission that there would be some steps to go. So, even if we have the direction from majority of council today, we still actually have to complete the ordinance. And so there's a little bit of extra time, I think, even if you pick 9 months to consider. That makes me feel more comfortable. Number 3, I think I'll be in support of optionality with discretion towards staff on how they feel it would best apply. I think I appreciated the public comments pointing out possible issues with either in various situations. And so there may be an opportunity to try and hit the sweet spot with some sort of optionality that seems to address that. I do think that given what we've already talked about with regard to the fleeting nature, how we think this will play out, I'm kind of comfortable. I imagine if we end up more toward the property owner, it'll be okay. But I'm okay with the optionality too. And then I guess with regard to other recommendations, I think I'll just note that I think I'm echoing some of what I've heard from my colleagues about ensuring that outreach is robust. And I appreciate public comment indicating that there's some folks in the public who will be working toward engaging with their neighbors in a friendly way. And I think that's really important because I wouldn't want this to result in neighborhood animus. I think the main idea is to share information, try and get people to consider the fact that there are rebates available. And make sure that we continue those during this time to give people incentives to switch to electric at this time and enjoy the benefits of doing so. And I do just want to quickly mention that I really appreciate us getting to this milestone in our city. I do want to thank Councilmember Diaz-Nash for bringing it to our last Blue Sky Strategic Plan. I want to thank those on council who supported it and brought us here today. It's been a long time coming. I feel like this was one of the hot topics when I first started coming to City Hall about 10 years ago. And frankly, I was, supportive of changes then as an environmentally conscious resident. I was supportive of change when I was on the Sustainability and Infrastructure Commission, and I was in support of change in 2023 when it came before council. And so I'm glad to see that, there was enough sustained momentum buoyed by action on the state that now sees us considering making this change that I think will be beneficial to our city overall. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, a couple of questions and comments. I went to our largest box hardware store this past weekend and was told by the area manager that works with them that they've been told that they are no longer allowed to carry or stock any gas blowers. They're also not supposed to service or repair. So they're supposed to, encourage people to switch at that point when the device no longer works. So I think that that's great. He asked me though, who goes around to all the small hardware stores and figures out if that's actually being implemented? And I don't think that that's a city responsibility, but I'm assuming because it's a state law that there is someone who is looking for enforcement. Any ideas?
Usually it's reactive. So if it's complaint driven, if it does happen, then it'd be the state.
Okay, thank you. Love the idea about continuing to communicate. I think we should make sure that we're mailing, it sounds like we've already done this, mailing landscaping companies that have business permits within the city of San Mateo. So fantastic, keep that up. I think we should continue to work to make our residents our advocates and have them help by promoting these rebates, especially during the build up to the enforcement period. I guess the other question about the enforcement period is, if we move forward with 9 months, at what point do we start issuing letters as opposed like courtesy letters? Do we not start that until 9 months, or is there, that gets ramped in 3 months or 6 months?
During the 9 months between the ordinance adoption and ordinance enforcement, there would be language about the enforcement date. The courtesy letter that we were discussing a little bit was about some violations that might occur that code enforcement hadn't seen and then thus been able to verify. So that could happen after the enforcement date began.
So we'd start that at 9 months.
Yes.
Okay.
But in this 9-month transition,
it's all
time
about
period,
communication for the first 9 months to try to get everybody on board and make our residents be our advocates. Great. I think we heard this, but as far as witnessing, we are able to send courtesy letters with a neighbor's say so, or is that still not okay? Meaning if a neighbor says or sends us an email and says, here's a picture of someone blowing at front of Mayor Newsom's house, does Mayor Newsom then get a courtesy letter?
I think if we get any complaints, even if it is immediately after the ordinance takes effect, we can send a courtesy letter. And we would just let them know that the enforcement, when the enforcement in earnest will start. I think the content of the courtesy letter would change after 9 months. And so we would revise it in 9 months. But yes, that would be the instance where the letter would go, is when we receive a complaint and we are unable to verify it.
Sure. I heard this, and to kind of reiterate the fact that we're talking about residential zoned and areas that are residential zoned adjacent. So by that logic, I think the neighborhood of Bay Meadows should fall under both of those. I mean, it's residential, and what's not is residential adjacent. So I would like to make sure that we look into that and have some follow-up, because I think that enforcement should be, especially in these growing transit area corridors that we have. So if not already, I'd like to encourage that we follow up with that and get some answers on that. Something that we talked about earlier tonight, which is battery safety and rechargeable battery safety. I would encourage that when we're doing this transition, that we're also folding in the message of battery safety into it, because why wouldn't we? And I think that that's good from a fire prevention perspective. Hours of operation, let's see. I think the other thing about, our outreach is explaining and reminding people of the public health and safety benefits for the entire community. So, we're not doing this because some people think it's a nuisance. We're doing this because it's for the health of our gardeners, our landscapers, and our residents. And so I think we build that into our messaging. And the last thing was, I know that we've adopted fully electric as far as city properties. I know about a month or two ago, we had some concerns, and I don't know if they were using the blower in a blower in the city garage, or if they were using a cleaner, like a parking lot cleaning machine in the garage. But that was happening at an early hour on the weekend.
So it was a blower, and Public Works has worked with that contractor to make sure that it's within the legal hours of operation.
I thought so. And that was where I was going with it, is I need to make sure that all contractors are also abiding, and that we continue to lead the way and lead by example. Okay, so that's my questions and comments. As far as hours of operation, and then going back to the Sunday question. So right now, you're not allowed to operate a blower, glass blower on Sundays at all. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
So can we talk about this now, or do we need to agendize if we'd like to?
That's your hours right here. It's question number 1.
Okay, well, I would be for having the same hours of operations as Saturday. So we'd have a weekend schedule that would be across the board for the weekend, as opposed to no hours of operation on Sunday. Do I need to get, okay, we'll come back to that. Was that? Citywide. Yeah. Otherwise, I am okay with the hours of operation. I need my other questions though. Can we go back a slide?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
So just as you're going through your questions, at least on question 1, I've heard 3 basically for citywide. So that's the majority of the council at this moment.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
As far as enforcement, I am in agreement with starting at 9 months and working a lot to get the message out. I'm also in agreement that at 2 years, we should come back and do a follow-up. In terms of penalties, I know that this is tricky. I think that initially it has to go to the property owner, because chances are most of the time you're not going to be able to get there while the gardeners are still there. So I would say that we do kind of a split where, first notice goes to property owner. If the property owner wants to rat out their gardener, then, obviously that can become the responsible party. I would also think that a responsible property owner, once they've been given 1 or 2 warning notices, is going to recognize that they're about to get fined and is going to find another gardener or landscaper, or hopefully, even more importantly, help their landscaper get electric blowers. So that's my feedback on that.
So just real quick, from a staffing perspective, that's pretty complex for staff to, look for the most flexibility of what we have on the screen, of whether, we can send notices to the private property owner or to the company. Either or, that'd probably be the best approach from a staffing perspective of being able to implement.
Yep. That's perfect.
All right.
Sorry to overcomplicate. And then I've given my other recommendations, so I think that's it. Yeah. We got a motion?
Oh, just really quickly on Bay Meadows. So it's zoned for mixed use and transit oriented. I would be curious to know also about that area, because some of it is residential.
So you're going citywide as the majority here on council. So I believe it blankets the whole city now.
Okay, great.
So we close that loophole. That's great. Yeah.
So please. Sorry, apologies through the mayor. If I can just clarify, there's no ordinance for the council right now. Staff simply asked the council for direction. So based on that direction, staff would put an ordinance together and return with that ordinance to the council at a later date.
So no motion necessary.
There's no motion necessary.
Do you have the direction that you need?
I just want to ask my colleagues about this citywide hours of operation, because I just want to make sure that we are considering what the ramifications of that might be. Like, for example, we were just talking about city parking lot blowering, and that happens currently in the early morning hours. And if we were to go citywide with hours of operation that don't include that, then the blowing would have to happen during the hours of operation, i.e. later in the day when people are theoretically here. That seems worse. Are we, what, I'm just wondering if people are aware and what they think of that.
Whose hands raised? Oh, Lisa, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, I was just going to speak, I believe, in conjunction with Councilmember Lorraine, that my concern would be specifically for things like parking lots where we do it before hours in a commercial zone. And if you do it during the day, they really can't do the work because there are cars parked there, or there's more danger of accidents. So I would recommend that there are carve-outs for things like that. And I believe I'm in alignment with Councilmember Lorraine.
Just to confirm, I think Christina, you said there are carve outs for some areas.
If you go citywide, there's not going to be a carve out. So you would have that situation where there's cars and there's people, and there might be leaf blowers when there's people walking in the parking lot. Or if it's like a shopping area, there could be leaf blowing happening while there's pedestrians. And so you do have that situation where you need to consider that.
Okay.
I guess the way I looked at it is like I would like us to be uniform and it's cleaner and simpler if we just have set hours of operation.
Sure. And, in the case of like the city parking lot, for example, I think what they've done is instead of doing it at 6 a.m. on Saturday, they're doing it at, 11 on Saturday. So in the case of a lot of businesses, they're not opened. I think the real carve out or concern would be the shopping malls and the places that you have parking, a lot, all during business hours, and 7 days a week. So I guess that would be the question. Should we say we support it citywide with the carve outs for those types of situations? And how would that look?
So are you looking for citywide, but if the carve out is for parking, basically parking lots in the city, throughout the city as a carve out?
I'm trying to think of other things that besides parking lots that would need a carve out, and nothing's coming to me, but does anyone else have any feedback?
I would point out that a lot of people use leaf blowers on their roofs. And we do have low-rise office buildings still and other kind of commercial structures. And so we tend to think of them where we see them, but that's not the only place where they are. People do use them a lot in their landscaping, but they also use them in planter islands along the streets. And the reason why you don't see them is because they do that kind of work when we're not out. And so that might be why we're having a difficult time making the association.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would just put that out there as food for thought.
I mean, I'm not super down with the carve out. I feel like to Councilmember Swerko-Goditsky's point, we want to kind of keep things uniform and transparent. And I just think that this makes it complicated.
So how do you get around the commercial parking lot situation?
Yeah.
And this wouldn't apply to a parking lot washing vehicle, meaning a vehicle like a washer that, like a scrubbing vehicle, it would only apply.
No, it'd be just to your leaf
Blowers.
blowers. I'd also say the other thing, just thinking about potential HOA impacts as well for homeowners associations, just overall, depending on how big their campus is and when they do this as well. So you could have unintended consequences potentially, but it's prerogative of this council.
Did we agree to review this again in 2 years? So maybe we can try it one way, and if it doesn't work, we amend the ordinance and go the other way.
Yep.
I support that.
So I can get behind, the majority's interest in pursuing a streamlined citywide hours of operation. And I would just maybe suggest or request that, given that we don't have an ordinance in front of us at this time, would we be open to asking staff to consider, as they create this ordinance, maybe hours of operation options that might work best for a citywide approach, given that we're kind of, as you can tell, like trying to think of examples and maybe aren't being able to see the whole picture. Like we have our current hours, I think it's safe to say, were designed more with residential areas in mind. And so like instead of a carve out, maybe we think a little bit about what hours of operation might work best for a citywide approach.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great compromise. Is everybody okay with that?
So the direction I have is that we'll look at citywide, but we'll actually do a little bit more research and come back with suggested alternatives potentially.
Yeah, and for example, that could look like residential zoning districts look like this, and commercial zoning districts have separate hours that would allow.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. We can go ahead and do that because we're gonna have to have a hearing on this anyway, so you guys can weigh in at that moment too.
Okay, it's a great compromise. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So we don't need a motion.
No, I have direction basically on, we're looking at citywide, but we're gonna do a little bit more research to come back on the hours of operation. We're looking at a 9-month ramp up time as well. And then the enforcement will be both for the property owner and for the company. And I see nodding heads across the board. So thank you. That concludes this item.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Andrea. Appreciate you. All right, now we will go on to our reports and announcements section. Does anyone have anything? No reports or announcements? Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
Couple of items. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder that this Saturday we have the San Mateo PAL Dia de los Muertos event at King Center. You can find details on our social media, but we hope that you will join us in celebrating in North Central, because this is a huge event that happens every year. And I just want to thank the PD and PAL and Parks and Rec for putting that together every year. Additionally, I wanted to highlight an article that came out earlier this week, or I guess late last week, about Burlingame schools, and they are indicating that they are piloting a training course for e-bikes. E-bikes are becoming a major safety hazard issue, in the city of San Mateo. And what's happening is that the Burlingame School District is partnering with San Mateo County Office of Education, doing training and outreach for students on operating e-bikes safely. Participants will receive a lesson in the classroom before going out to get on bike training, which I think is pretty awesome. And I was wondering, I think this could also be very beneficial for our schools here in San Mateo, the San Mateo Foster City School District, and San Mateo Union High School District. I was wondering if there was interest from this council in partnering with the city of Foster City in sending a letter to our mutual school district, just indicating that we would be supportive of them participating in this program as well. Foster City is also having a council meeting tonight, and they are going to be our colleague there, Mayor Stacy Jimenez, is putting the same potential joint letter, which doesn't exist, but we'd like to see if maybe there would be interest in crafting a letter from both cities to the school district. Cool.
5 nodding heads.
Love it. Thanks. And so, would it be okay if
You want to coordinate that?
am I okay with coordinating that with Mayor Jimenez?
Yeah, and then we can work with our clerk's office.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you for a great suggestion. Anyone else? Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Councilmember Fernandez for that great suggestion. saw that article and was thinking to myself about parallels, and I'm glad that you are already working on potential parallels that could be very beneficial. I did just want to report briefly that I represented the city at the Peninsula Clean Energy Board meeting last month. And I think one takeaway that might be interesting to people is that there's been a lot of work. We're working on a 5-year strategic plan, and kind of, has said our regards to the previous 5-year plan. A lot has happened in the last 5 years at Peninsula Clean Energy. It's really amazing to think 60% of load. So like in the county's region, to have 60% of the energy that we are, demanding as residents, as businesses, is served by new capacity that Peninsula Clean Energy has purchased. And this is, a combination of like solar projects. This is not, this is literal renewable energy that we, through our funding, are creating in a circular economy that's benefiting the greater region. Lots of awesome stats that I won't go all the way down. I would just encourage you to take a look at the website, because actually, one other thing that's happening at the next Peninsula Clean Energy Board meeting is considering a new name. And there's been some branding work. It may be time to change the name. So if you have affinity for the current brand, hold on to what you got, because we may have some changes afoot. So that's kind of exciting and neat. I did want to just at least mention that. And I won't keep us forever. I guess I'll leave it there. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, and I apologize. Well, actually, I guess I will, since I saw it flashing. Shout out to the clerk's department. Mention, I'm pleased. Well, frankly, I'll take this opportunity to thank the police department and PAL for their work on the bike rodeo that happened just a week or two ago at Beresford Park. I was sorry to miss it. I had a cousin get married, so that was, I can't get kicked out of the family, but I understand people had an awesome time, and it was cool to see the pictures, and of course movies in the park right after. So it was a 2-for-1 deal for anyone who was able to come out. So thanks for that. I'm speaking of Beresford Park, I saw that we are going to begin construction soon on a solar carport. Another installation, thanks to Peninsula Clean Energy partnership. That's part of that load and new capacity that I was just mentioning. So we're continuing to build in that way locally, and I'll take this opportunity to shout out Parks and Rec in echoing what Councilmember Diaz-Nash mentioned in our last item about going electric and using Peninsula Clean Energy partnership funding to ensure that we are going electric in our parks maintenance going forward. It's awesome. It's great to lead the way. And another example of how far we've come on this, from, digging into the challenges and piloting equipment to now leading and modeling the way. So thank you for doing that. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Nicole and I later this week will be headed down to Southern California for Cal Cities. We're looking forward to representing the whole city, and we're sorry we can't be with all of you. Also wanted to call out a couple things. Last Friday, I got the opportunity to attend ASCII, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers award for Northern California, or actually Northern California. Yeah, Northern California. I got to go with Matt Fabry and our plant manager, Rob Learmouth, and the city of San Mateo's new wastewater treatment plant got a national award for outstanding water and wastewater treatment plants. So congratulations to everyone involved, but it was pretty cool to be recognized by, the American Society of Civil Engineering. We talked already about Dia de los Muertos for PAL on Saturday. There also on Saturday is an event that the city of San Mateo is not hosting, but is being held in the city of San Mateo. And that is a 5th annual Faith and Blue Mass being held at St. Bartholomew's Church on Saturday, October 11th, 2025. Although it is a Catholic Mass, all people of all faiths are invited to attend, and we will be honoring first responders, law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical personnel, both currently working and retired that live or work in San Mateo County. So encourage people to join us for that at 5 o'clock at St. Bart's. And now I'm going to get teared up. We did lose the first dog 2 weeks ago. And so I just wanted to put a special thanks to the Peninsula Humane Society for being so supportive through the process. And also, we love you, men. And thank you. And I encourage people to continue to use the Peninsula Humane Society's adoption services. We are not ready to get a new dog, but when we will definitely get it from the Humane Society. So that was my last thing. I'm sorry to get teared up a little, but with that, is there anything else we'd like to talk about tonight? Okay, then, yes, council member. Oh, I'm just informed that Dia de los Muertos has been moved to, thank you, Tonga Day. Tonga Day was going to be held 2 weekends ago here in San Mateo, and the new date is November 1st?
Yes.
Yes. So it's going to be in San Bruno, and information is online. So encourage people to attend. Sorry that we're not seeing it here in the city, but definitely want to get people out for it. So with that, we'll close it for the night, and we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much. Have a great night.